So welcome everybody to this presentation. I'm the chair of our Law Society, and I'm Saeed Tarhan. Some of you might have had me in class, but tonight we've got a fabulous sequel to our presentation we did, I believe it was last year, wasn't it? Or was it earlier this year? On AI, and we're so happy that you're here. I'm not going to take up any of this precious time, but my wonderful colleagues, Timothy, Carlin, and Cristina, Nolan, are going to give us an information-packed hour about AI and the updates on it and where we're at. And it's not even just a luxury to learn this; it's mandatory. It's necessary at this point. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to them, and I'm going to mute myself and take it away, my wonderful colleagues.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much for coming. Welcome to AI, Are We Even Here? The sequel. And so I actually was talking to Professor Tarhan earlier, a couple days ago, I think it was, and I mentioned that I had said something funny that he had said in class, and then I completely forgot what it was he said. But it just came to me. So last year we were talking about doing this program, and we were like, what should we call it? And Professor Tarhan just said, well, AI, are we even here? Like, are we here anymore? Or is it just AI? So we thought that was hilarious and perfect. And so that became the title. And that's in typical, Professor Tarhan style, adding the humor, but yet also very, very to the point. So this is the sequel. So some of this, so the original one is available on the Legal Studies YouTube channel if you want to watch that. This version, the sequel will be available on the YouTube channel as well pretty soon, within the week. Myself and Professor Timothy Carlin will be presenting tonight. We're going to kind of do a little tag team. I'm going to go first, he's next, and then I'll finish up. So we start out with just sort of illustrating the concerns for using AI in the legal field. So what are the things that people think about? And this beautiful picture is of I should allow Professor Carlin to explain it, but I believe it's his son took this picture of the Northern Lights. So very talented. So here are some of the concerns broken into sort of three different areas. AI will replace people, it will be ineffective, and it will limit learning. So these concerns remain. Some of the concerns, people are the ones that usually do legal research. There's a concern that AI cannot do complete, thorough legal research. However, tools are being developed by by legal research teams. New tools are coming out by the minute. Not only are they're new tools, but also the existing tools are being upgraded, um, you know, on a weekly basis. So we're seeing dramatic changes in how these tools work and how good they are. Lexis is a big one. They're paid. Now we don't have, well, we have Westlaw, but we don't have the AI enabled Westlaw. But that is the most expensive package. But that does exist in law firms. Another concern would be that AI cannot complete legal analysis as well as trained legal professionals. And then also the interpersonal interaction of the legal representative is not AI-able. So how you communicate with clients, potential clients. Also, AI requires manual input and manipulation, which requires user knowledge. So it's not really, it is kind of, it feels user-friendly, but in what it produces, it's not, you have to really know what you're putting into the AI tool for it to come up with something that makes sense and is relevant. But paralegals are already using AI in many ways. So to conduct research, not like, hey, AI tool, do the research for me, but it's, give you suggestions and searches. It can also help to enhance technical writing, like spell check, grammar check. We're seeing even, more advanced versions. Now, the one thing is so it's not going to write for it. it's not going to write for you. It shouldn't be writing for you. The thing is, you have to know how to write in order to be able to look and see what that output of the AI tool is and see if that makes sense. So if I were to put something into Chat GPT and it would spit something out, I could look at it because, after many years of writing, I was an English major. I feel like I have pretty good writing skills. I would be able to look at what it put out and look at it critically and say, no, that's not exactly right. Let me fix it. That being said, it's not necessarily wrong to let the AI tool look at what you've written and sort of give you a critique, as sort of in a peer review way, feedback, another way of saying things. That's all okay, but it's never just a matter of you putting in what the material or whatever, and this magic perfect paper comes out. It doesn't work that way. You have to have those skills in order to be able to use the AI tool properly. So it can also be used to record interviews and create transcripts of testimony. This is an amazing thing that it can do. Even uh, even some of these really basic AI tools can create these transcripts. You can use it to search databases, to enhance understanding, like interpretive devices, and then to provide litigation support, like AI generated simulations. Another concern is that it will produce ineffective results. Students will just rely on the AI instead of established research methods. I know when I came into law school, started law school, Westlaw, Lexis were just being sort of developed and marketed to law students. Our legal research and writing teachers made us go into the library and they said, no, you are going to use these tools. We're going to train you on, Lexis, Westlaw, but you have to learn book research first. You have to know what you're doing in order to be able to use the electronic search tools. You have to understand what's going on here. There are some current limitations. We'll look at these in detail tonight. Lawyers have used AI to their detriment. AI composed writing created false results, including case law and statutes, is getting a little better, even since last year, but this is still a huge possibility. Again, this might depend on what kind of system you're using. Like, is it a closed system like Lexis with the AI tool, or is it just Chat GPT, write me a legal memo? There's also limitations on resources available to the AI bot in creating things for you. Now, maybe, things are being updated a little bit more, but as time goes on. But Chat GPT, for example, it doesn't necessarily have up to the minute access of every piece of information that's out there as of tonight, October 21. So it's more limited in scope. There's, some things it can't access if there's paywalls or whatever. Inability to distinguish good resources. So that's the AI tool. That's why you have to, as a student, as the faculty member, whoever you are using the tool, you have to have that skill. AI only knows what it's taught. Also, there's some lawsuits out there against AI creators that are pending appeals. So we have to see there's some intellectual property issues. So as we've talked about, present research methods are to use some AI. We can expect this to continue to change. They're improving as we speak. Paralegals must validate all AI-driven searches. Also, let's say a lawyer is using the AI tool. The lawyer has to supervise the AI tool, just as they have that general, ethical responsibility to supervise their paralegals or anyone that's working under them. That AI tool has to also be supervised. They could potentially, do something wrong. They can't just blame it on the AI tool. Then, firms can establish review protocol for AI used in writing. Does the AI enhance it? Does it hinder it? Is it better just to write it yourself? And then, of course, using the closed databases for more accurate research. And then we've got the Lexis AI programs, expanded AI tools to provide search, summary, validation, and citation. So that is much more promising because of the fact that it's more of a closed system. And I'm now going to pass this on. Um, Oh, wait a minute. Now, no, I think I have one more slide, right, Tim? Yeah, okay. And then student AI usage, we're also concerned with that they're not going to learn any skills. And we are, I mean, of course, we're concerned about that. It affects you as a student. It affects, the integrity of the degree. If people are just copying and pasting it in, we're all, in this AI machine. So that's definitely a concern. Of course, academic dishonesty is not a good foundation for an ethical legal professional. This is a core, principle of our profession, that you are going to be ethical. You're going to engage in ethical behaviors. So, essentially letting an AI tool do your work for you is not that good foundation. We also are concerned that students will fail to develop essential research and writing skills, and that you would then graduate without fundamental professional skills. That would be, contrary to our goal as a university. However, students can learn effective uses of AI in legal writing, and we'll look later, but PG has different levels of AI use, so we are teaching you that. There's program limitations, updates, and review. Students have to understand the research materials. You're not just cutting and pasting and putting it into a paper. AI can assist in formatting writing, but it doesn't perform reliable legal analysis. You guys can do this yourself. I've seen you all do it, can totally do it. And then, of course, keep abreast of latest academic or professional standards. We'll look later. The ABA has come out with some guidance on how attorneys are supposed to use AI tools ethically, which, of course, you will want to look at that, and that's how you'll plan on using it as well, the tools as well. And then, of course, students and faculty will work together to make sure that AI tools are used properly in the classroom. This means we both, faculty and students understand how to use these tools, and we all understand AI. You don't want to, bury your head in the sand. We don't want to not talk about it, pretend it doesn't exist. We want to learn together and sort of work together on those. Okay.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to revisit some concerns that we discussed in last year's presentation. So please read through the bullet points, particularly 1 and 4. And I want to share something that came to my mind from a trial I had a long time ago. When it goes to the 4th bullet point, AI cannot replicate the essential role of lawyer who's advocate in the court, negotiates deals face to face, etc. I was in a trial giving closing arguments, and I stood up and I put my hands on my client's shoulders, and I went blank, totally forgot the client's name. And it felt like I stood there for, I don't know, at least 5 minutes. It was probably only like 10, 15 seconds. And then I was like, oh yes, I remember his name. And I said his name. After it's all said and done, a couple of the jury members like, man, that was persuasive. Like that was emotional. You didn't say anything, like really drew us in. That was, it was very strategic. And I just nod my head, thank you very much. And it was all accidental. What we are seeing from AI is it is very surgical. You will not get a misspelled word out of AI. Your role in the legal profession is to bring you and your experiences to the legal profession, something that is not, it's not capable to be brought, at least not at this point in time, by AI. So there's a huge distinction between what AI can do and what you can do. Okay, next slide. Yeah, so the idea for like the main concerns, and we don't see this really dissipating whatsoever, particularly when we get some of the later slides. AI is very fluent. Unfortunately, one of the things that we're seeing is that it can create overconfidence. I have seen quite a few students in my classes. It's becoming more and more frequent. Maybe some of you have been in some of my classes where you've seen this, where you have fellow classmates who are like, yeah, I decided to represent myself in my own case, a custody dispute, whatever it may be. I utilized AI and I totally messed it up. AI was wrong. I got fined, whatever it may be. And it's becoming more and more common. And that's part of what I really want to dive into to look at what this is. So your judgment, your experience, and I understand it's like, well, we don't have any, or we're just developing it. That's okay. You have previous experience in different things. Bring that together. It becomes a melting pot of knowledge, and you're going to share that with your clients and with those that you assist. Next slide. Yeah. So one of the real sort of pushes is this idea of, you can see the first bullet point is like reverse engineering. Like, oh, it's there. We should not be ignoring the tool of AI. That'd be like having a Ferrari in your garage and you decide to drive the Pinto every day. It's there. It's shiny. It looks good, and it can really perform. But we need to understand what it's doing, how we can, and really the best way of putting it is like reverse engineer what it's doing so that we can better understand and learn from it, not just rely upon it, if that makes sense. And you can see the next couple slides, like what that requires you to do is to scrutinize and to look at what AI is creating so you can understand it. And so awareness of things such as biasness. Remember, these AI is built upon large language models, which means you just dump a bunch of information in there and it sort of learns, and they can try to give you information based on language. Junk in, junk out. Well, if you input biased information, well, it's going to spit out biased output. And so awareness of historical trends, how things used to be, maybe how things are progressing is critical for you to develop that legal eye and your voice along with that. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. All right. So what I want to do is talk about AI trends, lawyer and judge. Next slide. And we're going to go through the first couple slides pretty quickly. This is something, one of the first cases in which we saw the federal government come down on AI, like, hey, this is do not pay. We're going to replace lawyers, $200 billion industry. We can use it with AI. What do you need, lawyers for? You can see the LA Times. This is all part of, next slide. This is all part of the advertising campaign that they came through. Federal Trade Commission said, no, this is actually deceptive. It's unfair. What could be so deceptive and unfair about two simple little, and there's a bunch more, two simple little pictures. You can see that this is Exhibit A and F. Next slide. And you'll see that it's not quite all that shiny. Oh, not quite yet. It's not all quite shiny. You can see the LA Times quote, what this robot lawyer can do is astonishing, similar, if not more, to what human lawyers can do. That was actually an opinion piece from the LA Times High School Insider website. And when you see LA Times, like, oh, that's the big boy. No, this is still the high school. Very deceptive. Next slide. And we're going to see there's a lot of deception in AI that we're seeing. So do not pay, almost $200,000 settlement for, quote, failing to live up to its lofty claims. The service could substitute expertise of a human lawyer. It can't. And so this is all part of a larger operation by the government, the Federal Trade Commission, known as Operation AI Comply. So be aware that there is a push to identify those who are abusing AI as a method of just making money. Next slide. The courts have responded in a number of ways. One is a proposed rule by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals say, hey, you know what, we should certify that AI was not used in the drafting process, or at least that you have reviewed AI that helped draft. The Fifth Circuit got a lot of pushback from attorneys and like, no, we're not going to adopt it. There's already existing methods to make sure that it's secure from AI. So Fifth Circuit didn't adopt it. One of the first circuits to adopt it was the District Court of Eastern District of Texas. They require attorneys to review and verify AI-generated content. And this last bullet point, the lawyers caution that certain technologies may produce factually or legally inaccurate content and should never replace the lawyer's most important asset, the exercise of independent legal judgment. And that's something I want you all to keep in your mind because many of you are still developing your independent legal judgment, and that's a good thing. Next slide. You can see here, out of the 13 U.S. circuits, at least one district judge out of 10 of those circuits have created an order that addresses AI usage and or disclosure within their courts. So this is a good website, Law 360, that's tracking it. So it's not something that's like out of everyone's radar. This is something that we are seeing more and more responses by the court. And no doubt, probably next year, you'll maybe see all 13 have at least one judge. Okay, next slide. There is a proposed rule that to the federal rules of evidence. Currently, there's only Rule 706. This is the proposed amendment to the federal rule of evidence for machine-generated evidence. And the idea is that it will track in the same manner in which we have expert witness testimony. This is opened up until February 16th. You can see, and really the point of this is you can see that this is an issue that we in the law are recognizing, and we are trying to figure out the best way to bring that into law. Next slide. And you can just see the idea for this this rule would be, hey, you know, if you're using AI output, then it needs to meet this standard. What is the standard for expert testimony? Assist the trier of fact based on sufficiency of facts or data, product of reliable principles, methods, and it needs to be a reliable application of the principles and methods of the facts. So it needs to be a reflection of those two, or those four. So that's the idea. Keep an eye out for this because there's a lot of changes I imagine that will be on the horizon that we just can't anticipate right now. Next slide. Okay, so what I want to share is something that I've been doing for the past couple of years now. When AI was first introduced, I used a test case for my administrative law class, copied and pasted the Unit 9 assignment right into ChatGPT and said, hey, you know, I just threw it in there, asked to prepare the memo because that's what we're looking for. And the idea of the memo was explaining sovereign immunity, its background, etc., the Federal Tort Claims Act, and whether the client, Ms. Williams, could sue, and then remedies available under the Federal Tort Claims Act. So I want to take you on a history of what this looks like. Next slide. This is a paragraph from ChatGPT. Next slide. And so part of this statement is incorrect because it says the last sentence, punitive damages are only available in limited circumstances. That's not correct. That's patently wrong. And so this is my reaction to it, like, whoa, can you give me a source for your statement? I'm kind of confused. Next slide. And this is its response. It brought up a real case. It was Kolstad v. American Dental Association. And it gave me, you can see the quote, you know, Congress intended the plaintiff. It's all underlined. That's not in there. In fact, maybe the word recover is in there, but punitive damages are not in there. It's made up wholesale. And this was shocking because hallucinations, which is when AI creates confidently information and presents it as factual, isn't true. This was before hallucinations was really a thing. So it really caught me off guard. Next slide. And so at the time, this was April 28th, 2023, and I gave another presentation, and this is April 2nd, 2024, and I asked AI, well, how much has there been investment-wise into AI? And you can see here, this is the response. This is the graph it provided me. $6.6 billion in October 2024, as opposed to the just the measly 300 million in April 2023. So you can see there's been a big investment, at least last year around this time. Next slide. So the previous model I used was 3.5, and this is model 4.0. Same question. Copied and pasted it, put it in there, and this is what it put out. Again, telling me that the Federal Tort Claims Act does permit for punitive damages in rare instances. Next slide. This is the support it gave. It gave me two cases, Smith v. United States, Dixon v. United States. Next slide. And these both are just unit hallucinations, just made up. The courts never discussed punitive damages. $6.6 billion didn't really buy you a lot. Well, I guess $6.3 billion. Next slide. So here we go. This was October 18th. I asked just a few days ago, I asked ChatGPT again, and I pay for the premium version. So what I'm going to show you is from ChatGPT 5.0. What is the investment total from October 2nd, 2024 to October 18th, 2025? $164 billion, which is, I looked it up, I don't know, that's about the GDP of, I think, Puerto Rico. That's a lot of money. So surely we can get this correct. Next slide. And it did. It got this correct. If successful, Mrs. William may recover compensatory damages, but not punitive damages or pre-interest judgment or prejudgment interest. That's it. That's the law. It actually quoted the law. Finally, you can see, I don't know, what is that, $158 billion later. And it's sort of tongue in cheek. They can get this correct. Oh yeah, that's the link. Maybe we can share the PowerPoint as well with the video. Just so you can see the memo yourself. Next slide. These are hallucinations. Bellevue, United States. And of course, I started seeing quotations like, oh, I'll just go through and double check it. Bell didn't even say any of this. Didn't talk about reasonable medical benefits, pecuniary loss, nothing. So while I got one point of law correct, I don't know, 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. So I want to take you down another rabbit hole. And this is Model 5. Next slide. This is the references that it gave me. Now, I just talked about Bellevue, United States. Next slide. Out of 8 citations, 4 are incorrect. And I'm going to take us through this just so you can see. Remember the previous slide, what Cristina was talking about, what I was talking about earlier, like just because it can perform doesn't mean it's competent. Next slide. Here we go. Sovereign immunity, historical basis, current function. That was the heading for this. This is the quote from Cohen's v. Virginia. This is a 1821 case. You can see that the underneath the second little screenshot that I included, like, well, that's not what it said in the case, and you can see that. So remember we talked about earlier, like it's important for us to deconstruct or reverse engineer what AI is doing, and this is one of those instances. And I promise you, your instructors are doing this. Fellow lawyers will be doing this. The judges will be doing this. We all need to start doing this because this is becoming a real issue. We never can just rely on, oh, that's what they said. They're providing a citation. Looks good. Let's move on. No. So this is the first issue with Cohen's v. Virginia. Next slide. This is another issue you can see with United States v. Kubrick. And again, the citation that AI prepared, ChatGPT prepared, is not the same as the actual case. So it's getting its lines mixed up somewhere. Maybe some of you are computer scientists. You can figure that out. I just know that this would get me in a lot of trouble as an attorney. Next slide. So I got 2 slides here, or two quotations here from the what ChatGPT prepared. You can see this is from O'Neill, physician's failure to diagnose, treat. That was from the application of Mrs. Williams. And conclusion, it quotes back from O'Neill as well. And it looks somewhat, reliable. It's okay, you got the citation. Next slide. This is just made up. This is not a real case. When I put in the citation, this is the case that came up. I hope we're seeing the issue. If you are just taking at face value what any AI is creating, you are going to be in a world of hurt, much like some much like some judges we're going to look at in just a second. Next slide. There's one bonus hallucination. I forgot to show this to you. So here we go. This is United States v. Muniz. It allegedly said Congress and passing the Federal Tort Claims Act. Next slide. The problem is that is not a quotation from Muniz. Next slide. And the other problem is that wasn't even included in the reference list. Like simple things that, man, like we shouldn't be making mistakes like this if I'm going to dump $164 billion into a program. So can it perform? Yes. Is it competent? Depends. I mean, we can litigate what competent means. Next slide. Oh, there it is. Yep, it's not there in the slide. Okay, next slide. I want to make sure I leave Cristina enough time. The takeaway is this. Remember that quote from the Eastern District Court in Texas? You are cautioned. Forget the lawyer. As a student, you are cautioned. AI, ChatGPT in this instance, any AI can make a lot of mistakes. Can look competent but make mistakes. Do not replace your independent legal judgment for what AI could do maybe more quickly. Next slide. Okay. Quickly, I want to just go through this so I leave Christine enough time. Textualism, the idea that we try to get to an ordinary meaning of the word, and then Robert, can you appeal an ineffective sentence to counsel? Like it looks as if your attorney used AI, and could Robert's like, could I then on appeal say, hey, ineffective assistance to counsel, look at all the crazy stuff they included, like let's pretend that was a filing that was made. I am unaware of any cases, but yes, like I said, no doubt. Yeah, I got to do some research if there has been an instance like that. I'm not aware of any, but I wouldn't want to bet against it because, yeah, no doubt that would definitely be ineffective assistance counsel. There was a case, next slide, where the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals judge said, hey, I'm a textualist. I like to figure out what the ordinary meaning of a word is. We have this case, insurance case, in which Snell applied for insurance, saying, hey, I do landscaping work, put in a trampoline. There's 2 pictures of a trampoline. It was below the ground trampoline. As you can imagine, we got some bouncing going on, and someone hit their face, lost a lot of teeth, and want to sue. Well, Snell's like, no worries. That's what I got to pay for insurance for. Well, like every other insurance, like, well, how are we going to get out of paying paying the losses associated with this? Oh yeah, that's it. We don't think that's really landscaping. And so there was a lawsuit. Like, and the question is, you can see here, does the installation of ground level trampoline qualify as landscaping? That's what this court was trying to answer. And so the judge went to dictionaries trying to figure out the ordinary meaning of the term, use of the time, landscaping. And the judge is like, this just isn't, I'm not really happy with this, like the answer. Man, go to ChatGPT. And this is what he put in there, like word for word. What is the ordinary meaning of landscaping? And the answer that came back was, and you can see the quote here, ChatGPT's explanation seemed more sensible than I thought it might. And it was. I encourage you to read the entire ruling. And so the judge's takeaway was, might LLMs, large language models, that sort of the foundation of what ChatGPT is resting upon and others, might it be useful in the interpretation of legal texts? Having initially thought the idea positively ludicrous, I now think I'm a pretty firm maybe. And we all need to be in that camp. Next slide. And so these are the pros and cons that he came up with. And this is a great opinion about this. It's been cited in other instances. And I just want to draw your attention to cons. Hallucinations, offline paywall, protected speech not captured, manipulation, and would reliance on LLMs create robo-judges. Now we need to go to the next slide. There were 2 judges. First is Julian Xavier Niels. Hoping I pronounced his name right. He had to withdraw his opinion on June 30th after, quote, a lawyer politely pointed out that it was riddled with fabricated quotes, non-existent case citations, and completely backward case outcomes. They never called him out saying you used ChatGPT or AI. It'd be dangerous to do that with a judge, but tell me, accuse someone of using ChatGPT without accusing someone of using ChatGPT. That's what it would look like. Yeah, secondhand embarrassment. I encourage you to read through this more. This was just a case study of what not to do. And the concerning part, and I included a little screenshot here, and you can read it, is the concern is, well, wait a minute, that June 30th opinion, before it was withdrawn, other people started relying upon it and making arguments persuasive arguments, not precedent, persuasive arguments to courts in other cases. And what happens there when you're using it as like supplemental authority? It's just, it creates a problem. So this was one instance on June 30th of a judge that pretty clearly used AI. Next slide. And then we have, oops, then we have Judge Henry T. Wingate. Again, same issue, had to withdraw his TRO, a temporary restraining order, after the Mississippi Attorney General's office said, hey, we're going to politely say this, but we got some errors here. And so he withdrew the opinion. And again, much like the other judge, there were some issues with citing to that TRO. So what he did was the original temporary restraining order. You go to the court's docket; it's not available. You can see the updated TRO to the doc in the court's docket. But the problem with the internet is the internet doesn't forget, and it was already captured. And if you want to, you can look at his original error-laden TRO by following that link. And we don't have time for that. These judges, if students would have received, plagiarism referral to the university, zeros on the assignment, like this shouldn't be happening in the profession. So please don't think it can't happen to you if you rely upon AI. Next slide. And we all get pulled to the principal's office. This is Senator Grassley, the chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary within the Senate, sending 2 letters to both judges saying, you need to respond and tell us how you used AI, etc. So there's 2 examples of this. So we hold you to a high standard, and you can see these federal judges are being held to a high standard. I don't want to be retired, and any of you to be a federal judge and be like, oh, I wish my professors would have told me not to do that. Like, you've been warned. Please don't be in the news for this reason. Be in the news for good reasons. Next slide. And so just a few of the questions I wanted to pull out, and you can see these, and I've underlined the first one. These are the questions that they asked these judges. Did your law clerks, court staff use generative AI, et cetera? And towards the end of question number 1, if so, please identify each tool, its version, if known, and precisely how it was used. And just these are really good inquiring questions to figure out, well, how are you using this so we can prevent this in the future? And I want you to just notice, like, what are the tools? What is the version? How did you use it? And I want to go into next slide, into some taxonomy or framework that you can use. And this is the gated taxonomy. And the idea is, with AI being used in academia and professionally, this is one of these taxonomies that are really getting a lot of attention, that, hey, you as a researcher need to identify how are you using AI. And so the idea is there's 3 stages to this. Well, 3 parts to this. The stage is you need to identify the stage of research or publication where AI was used. Like, hey, I generated ideas, I conducted my research. And then the role, like, yeah, it summarized the information, it translated it, put it into plain language, it bias checked, whatever it may be. And then these are the versions I use. This is the output. These are mirroring exactly what Senator Grassley was asking. And we can sort of see, like, this is where it may be going. And so we want to sort of get you ahead of the curve before it gets there. There's a great declaration generator that could be used to help make the process efficient. Next slide. So I just wanted to throw out the sort of the test for the ethical use of AI. And what I would say is, when you're asking the question of should I use AI or how to use AI, would I ask the same question to Professor Nolan or Professor Carlin? If the answer is yes, then okay, it's probably going to be more likely that it's ethical. But if the answer is no, like, I would not ask Professor Carlin to write this paragraph for me or rewrite these, like, then maybe you shouldn't ask AI to do that for you. And finally, what I would just suggest is, would you be proud to explain how you used AI in the assignment? Senator Grassley said, hey, to you student, like, how did you use AI? Like, would you be proud to say how I used it? And if so, you're on the ethical side of, probably on the ethical side of AI. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. I think so you will be getting this PowerPoint presentation later, and then you can follow all the links in Professor Carlin's presentation or have his post slides. But also, I would recommend that you snip or you cut and paste that little image about the ethical AI test and just save that. Put it on a little post-it note and just keep that, keep that available. In fact, we all should do it. So, ethically using AI as a PG student. So, one thing I was sort of thinking about, it just kind of came to me. I was taking some little notes. I kind of am laughing because Professor Carlin and I do, variations of of this presentation, and I started thinking, I think Professor Carlin we're doing a good cop, bad cop type of situation. And I kind of feel like I'm maybe the good cop because I'm maybe a little bit too positive or, too rose-colored glasses. And then Professor Carlin grounds us in like the realities and sort of just be careful. So we're kind of this good cop, bad cop mix. Another thing that struck me too, as Professor Carlin was speaking, was that just the real necessity to add this humanizing touch that humans are always going to be needed, specifically in the legal profession. But when we think about that line between the attorney, the AI tool, and the court, there has to be this sort of human connection. It's not that straight line. There's human intervention along the way. So, for example, that judge or those two judges, I'm wondering, and of course I'm speculating, as we get busier and busier, we all feel this, right? Oh, I'm so busy. With all our responsibilities, jobs are getting busier. So we want to find a little way to cheat. Maybe I can get this assignment in on time. If I just put it into ChatGPT, I'm only going to do it this once. Maybe that judge said the same thing. Gee, I need to get this opinion out ASAP. Maybe I'm going to put it into ChatGPT and just put it out there and no one will be the wiser, right? But we know that's not the case. So again, where's the human connection there? The judge could have said, well, wait a minute, I don't really have time to do this properly. Judges have their own discretion. They have a lot of things they can do. If those two judges couldn't put out that opinion without writing it themselves, their only way they could do it in a timely manner was to put it into ChatGPT. Then they need to figure out another solution. Ask for more time. Take more time. Cancel some things that that they have pending to finish that opinion themselves. Right. Same for students. You reach out to your professor. Professor, this came up. I mean, whatever it is, we're going to work with you. We'd much rather work with you being honest with us that you didn't have time to do the assignment versus us working with you and this now, assignment created by an AI tool, right? So again, that human, we're still here. And I guess that relates to our title. We are still here, right? So I'm going to focus a little bit in our time. I know Professor Carlin and I could probably talk for hours on this topic. But we only have this 1 hour today. So I just wanted to present to you PG's policy on AI in writing. PG has been there since, this ChatGPT came out. That exploded onto the scene. PG was right there developing a policy. It's been updated. It will continue to be updated. If you look at my note at the bottom, that, every time you see on that campus homepage, a link to the PG AI policy, take a look at it. If there's a note that says that the policy has been updated, take a look at it because it is there. We have a task force that's changing things and updating as the AI landscape changes. So some warnings, to any AI tool, unless it's a closed system. For example, you have access to Purdue's or to Google Gemini through Purdue. You also have access to Notebook LM. These are more closed systems. They are closed systems. They actually tell you when you use them, you all have free access to it through your student accounts. so it tells you we are not collecting information from this Purdue global account that we will use to improve our models. So that is good. It's better. Although be careful because we're relying on that promise. And we know how, there's always cybersecurity issues, hacking, but at least there's that promise. If you go and have, your personal paid account to ChatGPT, there's no promise like that. These tools may collect and store your information. Suggestions, of course, may not be accurate or inclusive. Your intellectual property might be compromised. What if you've come up with something amazing, which many of our students do, most of them do. Now you've just given that away. Are you comfortable with that? Various AI detection tools exist. Many are not reliable. I don't think there's any that is not reliable at all. But AI writing is easy to detect. Sources provided may not actually exist. So I think at this point, Professor Carlin and I, just from grading so many papers, using these tools ourselves, we don't need an AI detector. We are a human AI detector. And again, I'm exaggerating our proficiency, but we know the telltale signs. We can sort of guess, like, oh, okay, that was probably written using some sort of AI tool. Another thing is I've noticed too, a lot of students don't realize, because of the way these tools are being marketed, they don't realize that they can't use them in that way. Which is again why I'm so happy you're here at this program, and you're getting this taking in this information. I've linked here there's many hyperlinks in this. Here are some suggestions on how to avoid an academic integrity violation. The Writing Center, don't forget about the Writing Center. They're still there. They're better than ChatGPT. PG 411 as well, although I have to say, try to register for it. I just tried to find it and register for it again, because I thought I had registered, because I was going to start submitting some assignments just to see for my own self, like how it works, so I could tell people. And it wasn't letting me do it. And I was, so if you are still trying to sign up for PG 411 and you have an issue, just email me, because I want to remind myself to look into what's going on with that. So, I'm not going to go through these in great detail, but these are linked. There's videos linked here. We are using AI in our courses at PG at this time. There are acceptable uses. We've got different levels of use. Again, as things improve, as things are changing, we are and maybe incorporating more uses of AI in our courses. So one other thing before I look at these levels, I just was thinking too, right before I was doing a lot of different PowerPoints all day for my classes. And I was thinking, wow, what if we all lived in a world where I was just telling, putting in my material and saying, make me a PowerPoint, ChatGPT or Google Gemini, make me a PowerPoint, and I'm going to present this to my students tonight. And then my students were, listening to that, and then they were, in the chat, but then afterwards we all went to the discussion board and we're all putting in here's the prompt and cutting and pasting our ChatGPT responses. And then it's time to do your paper, and you're like, here's the prompt for my assignment, print me out an assignment. I mean, at that point, it all gets to be a little ridiculous. You just wasted time in my class. We're all reading everybody's AI posts. What are we doing? So again, that's not what we're doing. None of us, you wouldn't pay money to do this. I wouldn't want to be paid to do that, right? So just keep remembering, why am I here? I'm here to learn. I'm here to develop skills. You can use these tools. They're there, but they have their place. And so all courses, it's standard to have this level 1 use of AI. Here are some examples. There's even a video that you can watch. And again, this is acceptable in all courses currently. So Level 2 is a bit more AI incorporated in the course, and for specific reasons, not just like you can use ChatGPT for this assignment, but there are some different ways that you can use them. So employing the use of suggestions from editing tools to revise content for readability, clarity, and conciseness, modification, like creating a slideshow from personally created text content. So the objective here is to of this level 2 use, helping students improve the quality of their content by using AI tools to refine and edit the work they've created on their own. Again, your work is that foundation, the baseline. Level 3 is this is not standard either. And it's to help students gain digital literacy with AI tools for content creation and analysis. One of our legal studies courses is it's going to be a surprise, but it is going to involve this level 3 use. So we're all thinking ahead, working ahead. Why is that? Again, we have our fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the legal world. And yes, AI tools are being used in the legal world for many reasons. So we want to bring you that, to your studies. So I found some updates, but this is the core opinion or guidance for using AI as a lawyer. So I wanted to bring this in. So this happened about a year ago. The ABA issued its first formal opinion covering the use of generative AI in the practice of law. So this is formal opinion 512. Try to look it up if you can. I think I put I put it in here somewhere so you can actually look at it. So again, the ABA finally came out with a comment. This was their first time they had done it. So with regards to Model Rule 1.1 regarding competence, as you can see, lawyers have to understand the benefits and risks of it. They have to have a reasonable understanding of the capabilities and limitations of the tool. Any AI output must be reviewed and examined to ensure accuracy. Those judges did not do that. The judges that Professor Carlin talked about, they violated this rule of competence. And I know that these rules apply a little bit differently to judges, but that is something that they obviously should have done. Model Rule 1.4, this addresses the lawyer's duty to communicate with their clients. Basically, this requires the lawyer to reasonably consult with the client about the means by which the client's objectives are to be accomplished. They have to disclose the use of AI to their client when it's used to make important decisions in a case. So when it impacts the case in a major way. So to Robert's question, about, can someone claim ineffective assistance of counsel if they're convicted in, like, say, a criminal case, and they found out their lawyer just used an AI tool just for the whole defense? That lawyer would have violated this one, but also other ethical rules. But this one, right there, he wouldn't have communicated to the client, wouldn't have disclosed it. Model Rule 1.5. Now, this is a rule that talks about fees. So essentially, this is, using an AI tool could potentially save a client money. Our profession is all about that. We don't want to overcharge our clients for many reasons. However, you can't charge for, like, oh, well, if I had done it myself, I would have spent 2 hours, but the AI tool only took 50 minutes. I'm going to bill for the 2 hours. No, you have to bill again for the time spent. Lawyer cannot bill for learning how to work a GAI tool. And again, they can only bill for that actual time spent. Confidentiality. So this one is pretty key. Obviously we know that there are issues with hacking. Our online data, how secure is it? We're always trying to stay one step ahead of those that are trying to take our data. Not to mention too, look at what happened with Amazon and its cloud services yesterday. it shut down. It shut them down for a day. Venmo, couldn't send money. So we as a profession have to be careful too. Like, what happens if um, you know, something happens, it's hacked, confidential client information goes out there. And that duty doesn't go away. That duty to keep client information confidential, that stays. They would have to, again, keep that information confidential and evaluate the risk that client information used in prompts for a GAI tool may be disclosed or improperly accessed by others. On a side note, many law firms have developed their own AI database, right? AI assisted database, which is a closed system. Now that they can pretty much, as much as you can with any online database, they can ensure a good degree of safety and security for that confidential information, but it's not guaranteed again. And Londa, that's a great example. You could not work. Yeah, you couldn't do your whole work because the phones were web based. Yeah, it could cripple a system. And so again, if you're relying on an AI tool or whatever, and again, that's why it's, you can't just rely on that one thing. You have to also have those independent skills within your mind. So there's some other implications. Um, Use of AI has implications for a lawyer's obligation to a court to base claims and arguments on an accurate fact and law. If the AI tool is presenting you inaccurate information, now you're breaking that duty to the court. And of course, we talked about the AI hallucination. Thank you, Professor Carlin. And so there's additional guidance that was just released in July, but this is a very limited issue. This has to do with lawyers exercising preemptory challenges in the jury selection process. So this is we talked about biases in these AI tools. This is looking at, so we know that this software can be biased. And so lawyers cannot be they can discriminate in some ways against people that they want on their jury pool, but not unlawfully. And this formal opinion 517, which is basically the second opinion the ABA has issued related to anything AI, but it's this very limited issue. It recognizes that lawyers could unknowingly engage in unlawful discrimination if AI programs apply rankings based on impermissible criteria like race or gender. So they're knocking out somebody because the AI is like, oh, that they wouldn't be a good juror because they're this race or this gender. And it requires attorneys using AI to conduct sufficient due diligence to acquire a general understanding of how that AI tool worked to select jurors. So here are the references. And now any questions? We did it in 2 minutes under. So any questions from anyone?
So Patrick, that's a great question. Really goes to the heart of, well, like if AI is so efficient in doing these things better than a human, well, how do we incentivize to preserve those skills? And I think the incentivization is going to come from us, meaning like, yeah, it can perform, it can do a lot of performance maybe more quickly than we can, definitely more quickly than we can, um, but it lacks that human touch. And I think that as we see AI being used, and that's just my opinion, we see AI being used more and more. I think what we're gonna really see is that, hey, there's this human aspect that you just can't you can't boil it down. You can't recreate it. And I'm sure you're going to try to recreate it, but you just can't, because what makes Patrick Patrick, your experiences and your interactions with phenomena, whatever we're going through in your life. And that's what we're hiring, that's what people are going to hire you for, not because you have access to these tools, or your ability to interpret, but because you can interpret and apply something that says like, oh, that's so Patrick. And that's what they're going to hire you for. That's what I would say, Christina.
Yeah, and Patrick, I mean, I was thinking about this because people are saying we're not really reading anymore. Even with some of my younger kids, I notice, some of my older kids would always sit and watch movies, a full-length movie, and many of them. And my younger kids are like they're more into those shorts, and I kind of feel like that's how we're all doing. That's the trend or the direction we're all going in terms of reading. Nobody's well, yes, people are still reading books, but we're less and less reading, these full books. We're reading snippets, even in schools. They're like sort of like a selection from Macbeth and not the whole play. So it's sort of a general trend that we're all noticing, and I think everybody's struggling with that, Patrick. But one of there is an I think it's an MIT, no, either MIT or Harvard study that touches upon what exactly what you're saying is like. So it went around the internet for a while, like using AI will make you dumber, but it really wasn't that. It was sort of like the study found that if you had these skills, the basic skills of writing and reading well developed already, AI could actually help improve you, take you and your intellect to another level. But that's because you've already had those skills, are already well developed. But if somebody, like my 11-year-old, just uses an AI tool and never writes anything herself, it will make her dumber because she's not learning how to write. She's just letting the machine do it and has never learned it. So again, her output could be pretty good. It could look good, but it's actually her brain isn't developing as it should. And this study, I did a horrible job of talking about it, and I'm sorry, I don't even remember if it was MIT or Harvard, but it just came out a few months ago, and we're going to be looking at that too in greater detail. But if you want to try to Google that, like will AI make you dumber? It really touches upon a lot of what you're saying. It's definitely my worry too. Farrell, absolutely. Carlos, that's a great observation. From a judicial standpoint, you think AI would be a welcome change in areas where racial bias cannot be identified. The Deep South are subject to hidden racists who often occupy the benches throughout the South, and having a system without bias would be much more accepted than a system that has hidden agendas. Yes. And Carlos, I mean, and Tim can speak on this too. I mean, unfortunately, I create images for my PowerPoints for my class using Gemini, and no matter how much I tell it to please give me when we do people, like, please do not, I'm sorry, but just please not a room full of white men, which is what it will consistently do. I'm like, I want all kinds of people. I've been working with it for so long, and that's still the first image that comes up. So we are all working on training these tools that we're using to eliminate bias, but it still is still in there. So Carlos, I don't know, maybe Tim has a different viewpoint, but I don't know if like we're there yet with it helping us remove biases.
Yeah, Christine, I don't think so. One of the classic test case like you talk about is if you ask any generative AI, give me a picture of a person writing with their left hand, it can't do it. It'll give you the right hand. Give me an analog clock. It says 12:30. It won't do it. It'll give you about 10:10 because it's been trained on all this data because apparently 10:10 is really appealable to our eyes. And just the watch face, I guess, looks like a smile. I've seen some reports. And so we need to get there. And that's where, you and we can all, help to add to the body of knowledge to train these programs to view things differently and not include the biasness and not the fun stuff.
Well, thank you, all of you. Hold on, let me go to the last slide of this presentation. Our email addresses are available. I know if anyone has, Sonny, your question about using AI tools with students with autism, if you want to email me that idea, just anything, like feel free to email either of us anything, questions that come up, things you're interested in. We're always looking, for new things to look at and think about having to do with AI. So thank you so much.
Thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you to our hosts. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.